Nikola Tesla. Now, you definitely know the name, but do you know the mystery he left behind? When this absolute genius died, it kicked off an immediate, top-level government scramble, and they weren't trying to preserve his legacy, they were there to seize his work. So what in the world happened, and what secrets were they so desperate to find? Let's get into it.
So, picture this. January 7th, 1943. Tesla is found dead in his New York hotel room, and within hours, literally hours, the Office of Alien Property is on the scene. Now, they weren't there to pay their respects. Nope. They were there to take control of every single thing he owned. This was the middle of a world war, and they weren't about to let anything slip through their fingers.
And look, this wasn't just a few dusty notebooks. We are talking about 2 entire truckloads of material. An actual declassified FBI memo from the time lays it all out. They sealed every article, every blueprint, every little scrap of paper. It's pretty clear the government's interest was, let's say, intense.
So the huge question is, why? Why was the US government so incredibly concerned about the life's work of an 86-year-old inventor? I mean, he was a US citizen. What secrets could he possibly have that they were so desperate to get their hands on?
To even begin to understand why the government acted the way it did, you have to try and understand the mind of the man himself. And let me tell you, his mind was a place of pure, unfiltered genius.
Tesla's process was, well, it's almost unbelievable. He didn't just tinker around with prototypes in a workshop. No, he built and perfected entire, complex inventions completely inside his head. He called it his mental laboratory.
He would get an idea, build it, test it, and refine the whole device in his imagination until it was absolutely perfect. And only then would he actually construct the physical object. The result? He claimed that for 20 years straight, every single machine he built this way worked exactly as planned right on the very first try. Just flawless execution, born entirely from his mind. But his unique way of thinking didn't stop with inventions. He was also deeply, deeply fascinated by numbers, specifically the numbers 3, 6, and 9. He famously said something like, "If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe." He really believed these numbers were vibrating on some higher plane of existence.
And you know, this wasn't just some philosophical theory for him. It totally dictated his day-to-day life. He'd walk around a city block 3 times before he'd go into a building. He used 18 napkins to clean his dishes. It was a compulsion, an obsession, or maybe, just maybe, he was seeing a pattern in the universe that the rest of us just couldn't.
So what kind of ideas come out of a mind like that? Well, they were ideas that could either bring the entire world together or tear it apart.
Tesla's work had this amazing duality to it. On one hand, you have his world system, this incredible utopian dream of global wireless communication and free energy for everybody. But on the other hand, he designed something called Teleforce, a weapon so powerful he thought it would literally end all war.
He called it Teleforce, but of course the press gave it a much catchier, scarier name, the Death Ray. And Tesla's claims about it were just astounding. He was talking about a particle beam weapon that could take down an entire air force from hundreds of miles away.
And the specifics he gave were just incredible. We're talking about a beam thinner than a human hair, propelled by 50 million volts that could supposedly melt airplane engines from 250 miles away. He imagined a dozen of these things creating what he called an invisible Chinese wall of defense. Now, it's the middle of World War II. Can you imagine how that sounded to the government?
Which brings us right back to what happened after he died. The government had all his research, but what did they actually think of it? Now think about this. If Tesla's greatest inventions were fully formed in his head, seizing his papers might not even capture his most dangerous secrets, and that fear, all by itself, could explain what happened next.
So after they got the files, 2 totally different conclusions popped up. An MIT engineer named John G. Trump, yep, the uncle of the 45th US president, was brought in to look at everything. He basically dismissed it all as speculative and said there were no workable principles. But at the same time, you had military guys at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base who were convinced the particle beam weapon was absolutely real and were eager to develop it. So, who was right?
And the mystery just gets deeper when you start looking at the numbers. According to FBI files and other reports, Tesla had around 80 trunks packed with his life's work.
But then, in 1952, after years of legal battles, when his estate was finally shipped to his nephew in Belgrade to start the Tesla Museum, only 60 trunks reportedly made it there.
So, this right here is the question that's been fueling conspiracy theories for more than 70 years. What happened to those missing 20 trunks? Did they just vanish?
Or did the US government decide to hang on to the most sensitive parts of Tesla's research for itself?
But despite the official reports dismissing his later work, and despite those missing files, Tesla's legacy proves that his so-called speculative ideas had a really funny way of becoming reality.
I mean, the entire power grid we use every day runs on his AC system. Our phones, our Wi-Fi, they exist because he pioneered wireless communication. Remote controls, neon lights, even the basic principles behind radar, you can see Tesla's fingerprints all over them.
And hey, let's go back to that death ray for a second. The idea that was supposedly just speculation. Well, it directly inspired Ronald Reagan's multi-billion-dollar Star Wars program in the 1980s, the one that was supposed to create a space-based shield against nuclear missiles. Clearly, that idea was not forgotten.
So that really leaves us with one last big thought. The ideas that the experts dismissed as impossible now power our entire world and have influenced massive defense projects. It really makes you wonder, what else was in those papers? What incredible technologies, what other keys to the universe might still be locked away in those missing files?